Aloha and welcome to Java. Happy Friday, everybody. This is for March 15th, 2024. Thank you all for being here as always. Today is going to be an interesting day, and we are heading into a very interesting week next week, as well as the holiday coming up this weekend. So, going right into this, because I've got quite a bit to cover with you, we are watching an increase in risk. So the MMRI has risen, it's just below 275 at the moment. We had the relative strength of the dollar and the 10-year yield both gained strength yesterday on the report of hot inflation. So it's no surprise to anybody here that inflation is continuing and increasing faster than they would like. So, despite that, at the moment, we've got stocks in the opening still a bit showing in the red from yesterday. They did end down a bit, nothing major. We've got futures kind of conflicting with that, showing the green. So, right now, with our sentiment, it's still strongly in the green zone. But today we've also got what's called the quad witching day. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's multiple expiration date for options, which are basically leveraged positions in the market. So those must all be closed by the end of today. And that causes quite a bit of increased volatility, particularly the last hour of trading between 3 and 4 p.m. the eastern coast. So right now, still greedy, high risk, but risk on. So very volatile day is what's expected. So good for day traders, but if you can't stand the chop, might be a good day to sit it out. So we've got some more reports coming in this morning prior to market open, watching mostly import price index, not really anything huge. So we'll kind of watch that on the earnings more going into today. But we've got the producer prices yesterday really is what moved the markets. So as I said, grade zone actually increased, which is a little bit backwards, but that's showing the instability increasing in this market. So we also had oil prices, wanted to mention this. They closed over 3% higher for the week. So that's inflationary in the long run as well. So this is kind of how it's seen. Is a good overall view, if you would. I like this graph here. It's basically consumer price inflation. This 2% target, this is where the Federal Reserve would like to see it. However, we've got the actual inflation, well, the inflation as far as what they're reporting and measuring. So when it rose, they really wanted to get down to this area prior to cutting. At least that's the narrative at the moment. So still above that. So in banking, we've got more issues with the smaller banks. And we've been talking about this. We know this is coming and it's going to increase. So talking about catalysts for plunging value of SoftBank is now getting hit. And this is all related to the bank term funding program that expired March 11th now. So starting to kick in, we're watching one bank after another that's going to basically roll downhill, if you will, once their liquidity and their money on hand, their reserves dry up. So they don't have the ability to access new capital now from the Federal Reserve, at least not in the same way that they did. So they're going to have to rely on different methods, or this is going to be the catalyst that's going to shut more and cause more mergers. So we've got this guy who was basically the one who bailed out NYCB, the bank, with $1 billion. Now they're going to own more than 40% of that bank. So that's quite a significant stake. And now he's talking about purchasing TikTok if they are forced to sell. So I think that's very interesting. Also, they can force sale company and then allow it to be scooped up for pennies on the dollar, really. So had this come out, because I've had people question me about this as well, Federal Reserve still, even though Jerome Powell said that they're so far away from it, they may be far away from the development, but it is still listed as one of the 7 key duties of the Federal Reserve to Congress, and that is to create CBDCs is still in the works. So, what does this all boil down to in the real economy? As we spoke about before, unemployment is really what we're watching. So, we're getting more middle managers being laid off, which is kind of the structure of how this happens. So, the middle managers that get paid more, companies see these as a good way to cut. So they will cut out middle management, and then from what they really need, they will hire from within in their company normally, promote somebody and pay them much less to do the same work. So with this again, unemployment, this is a global situation that's going on here and systemic. So I had Aer Lingus pilots. They were about to go basically on a strike, and they were told to accept the pay deal that they are given or face an investment freeze. So we're watching after all of the strikes and all of the motions going through that it's swinging back into the employer's favor now to do these negotiations. So kind of a bad time to be going on strike and whatnot. And it's going to increase in that direction. So we had word from India, actually now Bharat, to lower their electric vehicle import tax if the company would invest minimum of 500 million. So Tesla is eyeing getting into India. So that could be a big win for them. So as always, try to keep an eye on global trade and shipping, because these are real indicators of the actual economy, what is going on in the world, not just numbers that are reported. So we've got China is now producing to Mexico. They're a nearby neighbor, easier to go with the shipping and outside of a lot of the risks that are going. So topping one of their global trade routes. So along with that, we've got, again, Red Sea shipping diversions. The area is still hot, and we'll go into a little bit more of this in a bit of what's going on there. But trade is causing all of these issues with the globalization and the increase in inflation, because as they might either take different routes, it will cost them more, or they have to increase their shipping insurance, so to speak, security and whatnot. So there was a statement that came out of the Kremlin, Russia, about nuclear weapons. There was basically a bit of an interview given, and now they are slamming the White House as normal because the press secretary completely twisted their words, and they're kind of upset about that. But that's what they're famous for, is twisting words and remarks and wordscaping, so to speak. But not very happy about that. So going back to the Russian money that they have basically confiscated, the amounts that are being added onto this, we're talking about $4.4 billion in interest since the assets have been frozen. So there's some European Union members that see the dangers in using this for Ukraine, and they are it's in a mixed boat. We'll see what they do. So Hamas has presented a ceasefire proposal for Gaza to mediators and the US. And I think this is going to be rejected for the sole fact that the United States and the other powers do not want ceasefire proposals. They don't want peace. And in fact, we're just speaking about this, the bridge that they're building supposedly for humanitarian aid is not even expected to be functional for 6 months. So that just says, why would they plan that? They want that to go on. There's more things going on than what is on the surface, of course. But they were talking about exchanging hostages. So military presence growing. The war is major cover-up, also contributes to the GDP for the production of weapons. And it is basically just a major smokescreen for a lot of the things that are going on. So for me, this heightens the risk in the markets, not simply because it's war, but because it's often basically something that they use to cover up either politically what's going on or something else. We've got Taiwan confirming the presence of U.S. special forces. they're training them for what is coming up with expected in China. We had the Marine Corps send their special response unit. They sent fast teams to basically anti-terrorist group, a professional uh, U.S. anti-terrorist group to Haiti because of what's going on there, and partially evacuating non-essential personnel from the embassy there, as always, something else going on there. So just a show of what is typical. Senators we've got held up visas from the Afghans from when the U.S. left Afghanistan. Now these basically Golden Star members that put their life on the line in order to help Americans. Now they're about to get booted out, and I think that is a travesty. But anyway, we'll see what they do with their visas. We've also got U.S. commandos training for the unexpected in North Korea's shadow. So that is another area that's heating up as well. So just kind of keeping all this distraction in the public. I'm putting this forward. So a bunch of it is, probably not going to come into anywhere, but they really are making the noise. So a couple of lava updates. There were some outages in Africa, and these are in a different area. Again, they're linking this to the undersea cables. So much more going on this as well. This is substructure of communication, intercontinental. And there's a whole listing of what's going on with this, but we'll leave it there for now. We've also got US senators seeking to reallocate the spectrum, wireless spectrum. They do license and own it all through the FCC, and they're looking at boosting the 5G network. So there's a lot of reasons behind that as well. Probably hit some of this up in Substack if I can get the opportunity today. So with this, I just wanted to mention there was an interview we did yesterday with the Atlantic Underground. Covered quite a bit of material, probably the longest I've spoken in quite some time. I'll leave a link in the description for the YouTube video in case you're interested in listening to that. I really appreciate everybody being here and all that you've done to support this channel. And I'd like you to go check him out and subscribe. He's got quite a bit of good stuff on there. So with that, I wish you all a wonderful trading day and a great weekend. And until I see you again, my friends, stay free.